Hi, in this video I'll go through the theory of the closed Catalan, and this Catalan of course starts after d4, d5, c4, e6, knight of 3, knight of 6, and g3, and in this video I'll cover the systems with c6, bishop g2, bishop d6, where black plays for a semi-Slav setup, and I'll also cover 6, knight to d7, which is one of the two main ways black plays the closed Catalan, with the other one being 6 pawn to c6, which I'll cover in the next video. So starting with the semi-Slav setup, where black tries to just uh, play a semi-Slav setup with the bishop on d6, and he'll put his knight on d7. This is really not that great. It's just a worse version of the setups with bishop e7, because after castles, white should start with knight c3, and then after knight to d7, knight d2. Um, Black is facing problems because white's gonna play e4, and after takes, white either wins the tempo on the bishop here, or if black does nothing, white is threatening e5. So black still has to move his bishop. White can also start with knight d2, but this feels like a little odd. You could just start with knight c3. It should lead to the same thing. Here, um, if black just tries to preemptively move the bishop, we still get a same sorts of positions, and we can just, in this case, black is getting e5, so we play d5, and we're gonna get a pass pawn on d5, and white's just a little better, probably more than a little better. Same thing with bishop e7, and we play d5. So now the main move black plays by far, or other than bishop c7 and bishop e7, is rook e8, and after rook e8, e4, black probably has to take the pawn. Black's other options are breaking in the center, but c5, we can take everything, and we just end up with a passed pawn. Same thing with e5, we just take everything in the center, and we get a passed pawn in a nice position. After d takes e4, though, this is just a better version of the positions we'll look at a little later in this video, where black has his bishop on e7 to start with, because now we're just getting a tempo on the bishop. And that's a really important tempo here, because after bishop e7, and then we could put our bishop on f4, and yeah, we are just getting a grip on the center where we can play c5 next, and if black takes and trades here, we'll get like complete dark squared control, and the d6 square is a huge asset for us, and white should have a really nice advantage here. Bishop g7, bishop c7, white can play bishop g5 because the queen has nowhere to go, and black has to play f6 now. I mean, bishop b3 maybe, and then white is doing really good, because black, along with the fact his position is just not that great, he also made a weakness with f6. So that's it for the semi-Slav setup, where white can make use of the awkward placement of the bishop and like quickly play e4. And here white is doing really well. So now for the main line, or one of the main lines. So there's an important difference between c6 and knight bd7. In this video I'm covering knight bd7. C6, uh, a lot of the times, especially if your opponent isn't that, like, well versed in, like, the move orders in theory, like, it'll lead to the same positions. But it does allow, like, if we try to play the same setup, Queen C2, like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, it allows black other options because he didn't waste the tempo, putting his knight on D7. So, if black starts with knight D7, then we can safely play Queen C2 and knight D2 next without worrying about, like, other options black has. Now, after knight D7, Queen C2, C6, uh, is like really black's only option. Other options are just, it's rather simple for white to just get a nice position. Um, and now black definitely has to play b6 here because, and I'm quite sure, yeah, it's the by far 85%. So this b6 really like the only move you're gonna face, and black is just trying to develop his bishop. But after e4, uh, white has many options here. Or black has many options here. Only two of them are actually good. I'll start with the not so good ones. Bishop b7 is a natural move, but after e5 98, cd, cd, we play rook e1, and then after our queen gets attacked, we put our queen on a4. Black has a few options, but our plan is similar for each. You put the knight on f1, and then we start an attack on the king's side. Same thing with bishop c6. a5 is probably the best one out of these, where black plays bishop a6. And then we start our attack, but white has really good chances here because he has a good version of a King's Indian attack, because black's queenside counterplay is just not that developed, and white has um, some fairly standard attacking ideas. That's for bishop b7, where he allows us to get at e5. d4 is the other not so great option, and after we trade knights here, we make sure to put our rook on d1, so if black ever plays c5, we have some ideas of d5, and black, for now at least, has to move his queen out of the way, because obviously c5 right here fails to dc, and the queen's getting attacked. But after queen c8, which may look a little odd, but queen c7 is just worse than queen c8 because we get a tempo. And after he trades, we play c5. Queen c8, we also play c5, and this is probably like in a practical game, white wins this like 90% of the time. This is like this is a great position for white because I mean black's bishop is just going to be useless even if he moves it to a6. It'll do nothing as long as we don't let him like trade it off for a knight or something like that. This pawn is going to be a weakness forever, and then eventually the d6 square is going to be a weakness, and white white has a fairly big advantage here. So just to recap, in this video I covered the semi-Slav try by black and the black's worst options, which are bishop b7 and 9d takes c4, and the tabia after knight d7, queen c2, c6, knight d2, b6, and e4. So I covered bishop b7 and d takes e4 in this video. In the next video, I'll cover bishop a6 and d takes c4, which are black's better tries. Thank you for watching this video. Bye.